Break the board sports. Here we go. Saturday on the gridiron. Big Ten football is back. Click that like, hit subscribe. 3 games I want to get into. One that's a pretty hard lean, and then 2 plays that I actually gave out that I'm going to be playing myself. Again, click that like, hit subscribe. Let's get into them. First game, Michigan at Maryland. Now, Michigan is up to a 14.5-point favorite. The bets are split 50-50 right down the middle as far as the ticket count, but only 18% of the handle on Michigan, 82% of the handle on the Terps. So you might say, well, why is this a game that interests you? Michigan is way better than Maryland. Well, I don't think they're way better, but yes, they're better than them. But there's a couple different reasons I want to get into those now. First of all, Michigan is 3-2 on the road despite their 8-2 record. And Michigan, they got some flaws, right? They're on a 4-game winning streak as to where Maryland, they're really on the struggle bus. They've lost 6 in a row, but Maryland, if they can win their last 2, can become bowl eligible. You say, well, there's no shot of being Michigan. Maybe not. But 2 years ago, these 2 teams played in Maryland, and that was a much better Michigan team. And Michigan only won that game by 7. Actually, the last 2 times they've played, 2023 and 2022, both of those have been 7-point games. Now you're talking about a 14.5-point spread. Now, Michigan's defense, we talk about that at length. Michigan's averaging 27.7 points per game offensively. Maryland, 23.4. So, all right, Michigan's got about 4-point advantage. Now, Michigan brings that 12th ranked defense in the country. 17.7 points a game is what they're giving up. Maryland, though, is only giving up 23.5. So not a huge discrepancy there by any means. Now, Michigan is 7-1 straight up their last 8. And against Maryland, Michigan is 6-2 ATS. We talked about Maryland's 6-game losing streak, and Maryland's lost 5 straight to Big Ten opponents. However, Michigan's just 1-5 ATS their last 6. But here's the big thing. On deck is the mothership. Michigan hosts Ohio State next week. Little bit of a look-ahead spot. I don't think Maryland's going to upset them, but staying within 14.5, I got to take that and roll with it. I'm going to put a play on the Terps here. Small single unit, nothing crazy, but I like them to cover this 14.5. Next game on the board, you got the Washington Huskies at UCLA. And this one's really interesting. Washington really hasn't lived up to expectations all year long. Right now, they're laying 10.5. Your over-under is 51.5. Now, 67% of tickets, 59% of the handles going to the over in this game, 33% ticket handle, 41% of the money going to the under. Now, the side, 59% of tickets, 64% of the bets is laying 10.5 on the road with Washington. I think this will probably touch 11 before it's all said and done. UCLA is getting 41% of tickets and 36% of handle here in this game. When you look in and dive in a little bit into the trend stat, Washington is 7-3 straight up their last 10, and UCLA is just 3-7 their last 10. But I think it's more of an under game. Now, 4 of the last 6 for UCLA's went over the total, but that Washington defense, they went under 5 of the last 7. Here's the other thing. Washington, UCLA hasn't been as clear-cut, and Washington's had some really good teams. UCLA is 5-2 ATS the last 7 meetings against the Huskies. You want to know what's even crazier than that? And again, Washington's been way better than UCLA over the last 15 years. But UCLA is 12-5 straight up the last 17 meetings. I'll say that again, because when I read it studying into this game, I'm like, man, that's crazy. UCLA is 12-5 straight up the last 17 meetings with Washington. Now, Washington, they blew out Purdue, who hasn't. UCLA, they got going. They had a 3-game winning streak. Now they've lost 3 in a row. At Ohio State last week, didn't look really good. Washington has a big game on deck next week. Again, talking about these look-ahead spots. If Oregon was to get upset by USC, Washington has kind of an outside shot to kind of do some damage. But either way, Washington and Oregon's a huge rivalry. A little bit of a look ahead. You got the lowly UCLA 3-7. Now, last year, this game was in Washington. Washington won by 12, but the previous 2 meetings, UCLA won by 8 and by 7. Over the last 4 meetings, if you take out last year's 12-point game, they've all been decided by 8 points or less the previous 3. UCLA plus 10.5, I think it's a great value play. It's one of the plays that made my card. I made it a double unit play for all my guys. UCLA plus 10.5. Let's book that one. The next one is the big one, right? It's the one everybody's looking at this weekend. and they circled. And now the line has grown rapidly. This started out 7.5. We're over 10 now. 10 in the hook. Oregon is laying 10.5 to the USC Trojans. And when I look at this, all right, I get it. Oregon's got an elite defense. We know how Oregon is on the carpet up there in Eugene. Tough place to play. Oregon laying 10.5, over under 59.5. 59% of bets, 62% of the handle going to the over. 41% of bets, 38% of the handle to the under. Now, when you look at the side, 55% of tickets are taking the points with the Trojans. 45% of tickets are laying it with Oregon. And then it's flipped money-wise. 55% of money to Oregon, 45% of money to the USC Trojans for this game. Now, USC, again, this is big. If they can get Oregon, they're right there. If USC loses this game, they're dunsies as far as college football playoffs concerned. And they haven't played well against Oregon. Now, USC is 9-2 straight up their last 11. Oregon's 9-1 their last 10. But USC and Oregon head-to-head, Oregon has won 5 of the last 6, and Oregon's covered 6 of the last 9. So this is a problem for USC. But here's the thing. Oregon, over their last 20 home games, they've been incredible. Oregon is 19-1 straight up over their last 20. The only loss is to that Indiana team that's ranked number 2 in the country. Now, full disclosure, I bet Oregon that game and lost. That's why I don't lay points. USC 8-2, Oregon 9-1. If you look at the head-to-head, they didn't play last year, but in 2023 at Oregon, Oregon won that game by 9, and I don't think USC was as good. The previous 2 meetings, by 9 and by 7, Oregon had a blowout in 2019, and then USC won. Listen, USC plus 10.5 is a huge number. It may hit 11. But listen, you got to take the points with USC. Again, I know Oregon's got an elite defense. I know what they can do at the quarterback position. But when I look at USC, they got a ton of weapons and Jordan Maeva. The other good thing about this is Lincoln Riley is going to keep the ball on the ground. He's going to churn it out. He's not going to let that Oregon team get going. Now, I think this could be very slow played. And when you're talking about that over-under, I think a lot of people are automatically going to assume these two teams and be like, yeah, it's going to be like 41-38, and it may get there. That may happen, right? But I think there's a little bit slower play out the gate. When you look at some trends here, the last 6 games for USC, the game total has went under in 6 straight games. If you've been betting that, you're up 6 units, 89% ROI. Right now, you can get under 30.5. I think that's got some legs to it for sure. Now, you're also looking at USC. First half, they're plus 6.5. USC's covered the first half spread 9 of their last 13. If you've been following that, you're up 4.3 units, about a 28% return on your investment. And USC has hit the game total under 4 of their last 6 games. We talked about this. Oregon, first quarter game total over. They've hit that 7 of the last 9, and that's 13.5. So a couple things to throw out there. But again, UCLA double unit plus 10.5, USC double unit plus 10.5, Maryland single unit plus 14.5. I always say this, man's best friend's the home dog, and we love pups. 3 pups, 2 home dogs. Break the Board Sports, where we help you become a better handicapper. God bless and happy handicap.